Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Qorina Awa Rosi. I'm from TBIF. I'm going to present about the intercultural component in an EFL Coursebook package by Susanna Sandarova. The aim of the present paper is to report the results of the research focus on investigation of intercultural component in the new opportunities pre-intermediate and intermediate coursebook packages. The aim of the research was to investigate the cultural related aspects in the second most often chosen EFL coursebook package in Slovakia based on a questionnaire survey carried out in 2013. According to the Council of Europe 2001, communicative competence refers to a person's ability to act in a future language in a linguistically, sociolinguistically, and pragmatically appropriate way, whereas cultural competence can be defined as knowledge of the life and institution of the target culture by Corbett 2003. In addition, intercultural competence is the ability to interact in one's own language with people from another country and culture, using one's own knowledge of the given country and culture by Brian 1991. Finally, intercultural communicative competence means the ability to interact with people from another country in a foreign language. The knowledge of another culture is linked to the language competence through the ability to use language appropriately. Sociolinguistic and discourage competence and the awareness of the specific meanings, value, and connotation of the language. According to Himes, communicative competence has 4 dimensions. The first is called systematically potential. It refers to the basic knowledge and ability to use a particular language. The second dimension is appropriateness, which can be understood as the ability to use language appropriately with regard to its contextual features. Occurrence, which can be defined as knowledge of whether and to what extent action is taken with language, and the ability to use language to take such action is the third dimension of communicative competence. Finally, feasibility includes knowledge of the whether and to what extent something is possible and the ability to be practical of feasible. According to Seville Troik, 1996, communicative competence, which consists of linguistic knowledge, interaction skill, and cultural knowledge, can be broadly defined as what a speaker needs to know to communicate appropriately within a particular speech community. Linguistic knowledge as the first dimension, in addition to the traditional elements such as grammar, lexicon, or phonology, should also comprise paralinguistic and non-verbal phenomena. Interaction skills include a wide range of knowledge which can be understood in the term of expectation or convention in the target culture, such as when to speak and when it is better to be silent. What nonverbal communication is appropriate in certain situations, how to take the floor, and how to request and the like. The last dimension, cultural knowledge, involves all aspects of culture, but especially the social structure of a particular speech community and the value and attitude held about language and ways of speaking. Apart from the mentioned goals, Lafayette developed 6 basic principles for integrating language and culture both in future language teaching material and in future language classroom as follows. The first, cultural objectives and activities must be planned and carefully as their language counterparts and be specifically included in a lesson place. The second, cultural component must be tested as seriously as their language counterparts. The third, textbook photographs must be considered as viable teaching content. The fourth, language teaching must be emphasized the teaching of content as much as it does the teaching of forms. The fifth, the teaching of culture must extend beyond factual learning and include community research, experiential learning, and process skills. The sixth, the target language should be the primary vehicle used to teach culture. Analyzing the cultural content in future language coursebook. In order to analyze the cultural content of future language textbook, several checklists have been proposed. For instance, Byron 1989 and Hun 1978 distinguished the following 7 criteria dealing with the cultural content of future language textbook. They are: cultural information must be accurate and contemporary. Then, after question of stereotypes must be handled critically. It must provide a realistic picture of the foreign society. It must be free from ideologies. Facts should not be presented in isolation. And the last, the historical material should be presented explicitly. Results both from the observation and the interview analysis, the reliability of the findings of the coursebook package analysis was questioned. The findings of the coursebook package analysis are contrasted with the result of the observation and interview analysis within each category of the applied research instrument. Example, within the category of sociolinguistic, pragmatic, sociocultural, and intercultural competence. Result and discussion. Sociolinguistic competence. It may be assumed that the treatment of none of the components of linguistic markers of social relations are like greetings, addressing, expletives, and fillers can be considered as suitable in the new opportunities pre-intermediate and intermediate coursebook package. What is more, the interview teacher's opinion also supports this finding. Similarly, the treatment of the aspect of politeness conventions are like positive and negative politeness, appropriate use of please, thank you, and similar expression in politeness may be considered as unsuitable or only partly suitable. Specifically, the teacher's indicate that the Coursebook treats positive and negative politeness to an acceptable extent. The results of both the Coursebook analysis and the observations, however, proved that they were not presented almost at all or merely implicitly. In addition, the treatment of please, thank you, and similar expression as well as impoliteness expression, despite the teacher views and the relatively high number of their occurrence during the observation, can be regarded as rather unsuitable, as these sociolinguistic markers were almost exclusively treated implicitly. Pragmatic competence. The results of all the three methods prove that the treatment of discouraged competence, imparting and seeking factual information, expressing and finding out factual attitudes, and expressing modality can be identified as suitable in terms of developing ICC at B1 level. They were catered for both implicity and explicity, and to a sufficient extent not only in the Coursebook package but also during the English future language lessons in which the given materials were used. Sociocultural competence. Unlike the result of the Coursebook analysis, the treatment of low cultural, everyday living and high cultural arts, based on the teacher's opinion and the observation, proved that knowledge of the given aspects can be extended to a significant extent with the help of the chosen teaching materials. It may be explained by the fact that on the one hand, everyday life issues and information on arts occurred to a relatively great extent, mainly in comparison with the other components of sociocultural knowledge. However, the investigated function of low culture, everyday living were represented very unequally, as the majority of the information focused on sport and media. On the other hand, all the examined issues comprised in the high culture arts aspect occurred almost equally frequently and covered a lot of facts related to films, literature, and music. Hence, despite partial appropriateness in representing low culture, everyday living, and high culture. The last is intercultural competence. Generally, it is possible to conclude that the representation of none of the aspects of intercultural competence was particularly relevant in terms of developing ICC at B1 level. Nevertheless, it cannot be said that they were not catered for at all, even though the other component of the Coursebook package or workbooks and the teacher's book did not devote significant attention to them. The role of the first culture and understanding of similarities and differences between the target and the home culture were treated to a relatively sufficient extent in the students' books. That's all for me. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.